listen to me. I beg you, brothers and sisters, I'm counting on you. Yeah. Black babies in the womb, shackled and bound, chained by the caveman who keeps beauty down, smacked on the ass when they're squalling and wet. And to a spineless man who never forgets, never forgets that he's a prisoner. Can't you hear my plea? 'Cause I need somebody, Lord knows, to listen to me. I'm a stranger to my son who wonders why his daddy runs. Yeah. On my way to work in the morning when I don't give a damn. Can't nobody see just who the hell I am. Hemmed in by a suit, yes, or choked up in a tie. Greetings once again. Welcome to the N.E.P.P.C podcast. That is the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition podcast. My name is Brother Frank, and I'm with former political prisoner
Abdul Haqq Islam.
Today's episode is dedicated to always is the political prisoner, but we're focusing on the month of Ramadan, what it means to those who are of the Islamic faith, and the impact that it has on an individual, and that ability to make an assessment of what's going on in the world and what they need to do, not only about the world but about themselves. And one of the things that they do, or Muslims do, in the month of Ramadan is fast. So we're going to get into that, and we're going to talk about how that needs to be connected, or it should be connected, with the work of freeing our political prisoners. For those who don't know about the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition, I think it's only right that we tell them about the origin of the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition. One of the founders of the Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition is Haqq. The Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition started in 2015. It has held demonstrations, cultural and educational events to help raise the awareness, and I would add to that, the consciousness of our communities regarding the plight of those incarcerated for their political beliefs and or political activity. And I think that that's very important to understand how this came into being, because Sekou Odenga understood the role of common people who understand what was going on, and they didn't come into consciousness or awareness on their own. Somebody brought something to their attention. And so Sekou Odenga was one of the beneficiaries of of their consciousness being raised as people started to campaign for his release. And so once he got released, he was able to share that love amongst other people. And former political prisoner Abdul Islam had also benefited from the people's input into fighting for his release. And so that's why it's very important when we talk about Ramadan and we talk about brothers of the Islamic faith fasting and focusing on bettering themselves. So, Abdul Islam, he's been practicing Muslim for a number of years, so he can break that down and let the people know what's going on and what should be going on for Ramadan, especially when it comes to our political prisoners. But I think it's appropriate that you start off with a prayer first, my brother.
Yes, sir. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah al-Alameen. Rahman ar-Rahim. Malik yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ihdina sirata mustaqim. Sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim. غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Ameen. In English, that is praise be to Allah, the beneficent, the merciful. All praise to Allah, Master of the Day of Judgment. Thee we worship, thine aid we seek. Show us the straight path, the path of those upon whom thou bestow thy grace, and not those who have earned thy anger. Ameen. Yes, brother. Alhamdulillah, the beautiful month of Ramadan, it should be about us getting ourselves together, becoming strong, becoming disciplined, improving our character, beautifying our inner being, our souls. Ramadan, I came into the religion of Islam during Ramadan, all right? I remember very, very vividly, one of the things that really motivated me was one day we were standing in line, and I made a shirt about this too. And the shirt is right here. I was standing in line one day, and there's a strong Muslim brother in line, and he said in a very, very powerful voice, Ramadan makes Muslims strong. All right, you see, let me get in there. Ramadan makes Muslims strong. All right, and that voice has rung in my being for a long time, and I made this shirt. So that was 1977. I became Muslim. And I ain't had a reefer, a cigarette, no wine, or nothing since then. And I've been working on self-improvement ever since that time. And coming into the month of Ramadan, like I said, I became Muslim during Ramadan. So my focus during that time period was self-improvement, getting my spirit together, getting my soul together. I had became a complete American. I had ripped off people. I've done things, man. I think about it now. It made me feel sad about some of the things I've done. I've done terrible things, to people. And in the joint, you know, beginning when I first became Muslim. Just before I became Muslim came into the prison and gave a speech and said, "Look for the signs of Allah inside your body." At that time, I didn't believe in God at all. Before that, I didn't believe in God at all. I stopped believing in God. You dig? I went from a Christian to not believing in God. And the brother said, "Look at the signs in your body." That's what you did. And so at the time, I was studying biology in college. I was getting straight A's in college, studying biology. And so I started reading um, in great detail, you understand, what happens in our bodies, you understand? And I recognized a great intelligence that had to be to make these things happen, to make life, to sustain life, the way that the organs function together, even bring it down to the molecules and the atoms, you understand? Bring it down to how all that operates, And I said, this cannot just be an accident, just some random blind stuff that just happened to happen. I recognize some intelligence in that, and so also, my study during the holy month of Ramadan was toward purifying my soul. You dig? Purifying myself, self purification. You know. To become a better human being. It's a funny story. When I first went into the joint, I started studying, and I started studying things like morality and ethics. And the reason I started studying that was because I wanted to be the best con man in the history of the world. I wanted to make people believe that I was so righteous and so good and so honest, you understand, while I rip them off for their life savings. So I started studying morality and ethics. Then I started saying, yo, this stuff sounds good. There's some good stuff here. So that was part of the process. And like I said, the Muslims came into the joint and gave the talks, and I was doing my own study. And during Ramadan, I really focusing on really getting myself together, So I want to talk about some Muslim political prisoners. Now remember, we still deal with all the political prisoners, but I just want to talk about a few Muslim political prisoners right now, to give some meaning to this holy month of Ramadan. I want to talk about Imam Jamil Al-Amin, formerly known as H. Rap Brown. This brother's innocent. During his trial in Atlanta, I used to spend time in his masjid. I used to camp in his masjid, and I witnessed his whole trial. I've been on this platform before talking about some of the evidence in his trial of his innocence. For example, the eyeball witness says that the shooter was 5'8" with gray eyes. Imam Jamil is 6'5" with brown eyes. They said that they fired at the shooter, at the passenger, at the driver's side of the car. You understand? They retrieved a wheel, and the state was trying to hide this evidence. It showed bullet trajectory hitting the driver's side of the car. They were saying he was on the passenger side of the car shooting at them. Ron Campbell, FBI agent, they heard this from the jury, that he had said before in another incident, he shot a brother in the back of the head and said, "I'm glad the nigga's dead." This is a witness against Imam Jamil. And people who know Imam Jamil, who have much knowledge know that the so-called weapon that Ron Campbell said that he retrieved, was not Imam Jamil's, and Imam Jamil, what is very significant about this brother is that he was a very great spiritual leader. He is a very great spiritual leader. All he talks about is the deen. All he talks about is Allah. That's his whole being, his whole heart. That's what he talks about is Allah. And I used to spend the night in the masjid and sometimes the Bilal Sunni Ali's crib. Salaam alaikum Bilal, you dig? And, Imam Jamil, his masjid doing Fajr prayer, early in the morning, Fajr prayer, it was as many people as Fajr prayer as it was doing Juma prayer. He kept the masjid full doing Fajr prayer. All right, here's another shirt that kind of deals with that. All right, Imam Jamil, one of the Imam Jamil's sayings was, you talk about jihad, but you can't even get up for Fajr. Okay, here's a shirt right here. Make Fajr, master your knobs. See that? Make Fajr, master your knobs. Okay? Imam Jamil, in terms of, and relating this to Ramadan, was masterful in transforming people's lives in terms of raising them up to their full humanity. One of his sayings, just as famous as his saying that America is as racist as cherry pie, one of his famous sayings was that anybody can fight, but anybody can't win. The price of winning is high. The price of winning is that you have to be on the level of your nasi al-mutmaina. The nasi al-mutmaina is the highest stage of our humanity. In the Quranic science, there is stages of the human being. One is the nasi al-amara, which is the animal biological level of the self. You understand? That in certain personalities governs the whole self. Seeking food, sex, and things like this. And it creates a personality disorder in which these type of things, these biological urges, become the God, all right? Become the dominating force that was organizes your life, organizes the personality, organizes the thinking. You dig? And this can result in crime. This can result in people hurting one another, very, very great human pain, destruction of lives, this slavery to the lower desires being the God, okay? So another level of the nafs, nafs means self. Another level of the nafs, which is the self, is the nasi al-lawama, which is the nafs struggling against evil. It's a fight, it's a rumble, it's a jihad. You understand? That's what it is, a jihad. You understand? Against shaitan, against lower desires, against weakness, and this is what we engage in during the month of Ramadan. We fast for self-restraint. Surah 2, 183 says, fasting is prescribed to you as is prescribed for those before you, so you can learn self-restraint, self-discipline, self-mastery. I showed you the shirt. It said, get up at Fajr, to master your nafs, to master your lower desires. You understand? And that is what the struggle is all about. And when Imam Jamil has said the level of the self that Imam Jamil was leading his brothers and sisters to was the nasi al-mutmaina, the highest level of the self, the level of the self that is close to Allah, that is Allah conscious, that is at rest and peace with itself. You understand? And has overcome the difficulties, has reformed itself. You understand? And is firmly committed to doing good, to righteousness.
Can I intervene for a second?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'm not trying to interrupt your flow or anything.
It's all
like
good.
I had an idea that was coming to my mind because you're saying that when you come into this realization about what you need to do, right, and reflect that on political prisoner work. because once you are aware that there are justices that you need to fight for, as a Muslim, you need to step up to fight for political prisoners,
Yeah.
because that's what that should do. That should make you understand, like, okay, there's an injustice that needs to be addressed, and me as a Muslim need to address it. Because when I talk to Sekou Odinga and I think about Jalil Abdul Muttaqin, I think about that combined years of incarceration that they spent collectively. I'm thinking about all these years they spent, and I'm in prison. And I remember talking to Sekou Odinga and him telling me if it wasn't for Islam, he wouldn't have got through those over 33 years in incarceration. Right. And I can imagine what Jalil Abdul Muttaqin would say about Islam and its power. So while you were incarcerated for your political views, how did Islam and Ramadan strengthen you?
Well, like I said, the purification of my soul, of working on myself, the jihad, you understand, against those weaknesses, against those desires. Yes. It was a battle, and so when we fast, we're conscious of Allah, and we have certain urges. You understand? But we have these urges. We remember Allah, and we remember that this is what's more important. You understand? So we read the Quran. You understand? We read the Quran during Ramadan. And we come across these places that talk about righteousness, good behavior. Being fair, being just, doing good. You understand? When we read these passages, you understand, during the month of Ramadan, our soul is washed with meaning of these things, the meaning of these things, and we feel a commitment, you dig, to live up to it, to be true to it, yes. To be truthful, to be just, to be fair, to be loving. It takes on a very, very strong meaning in us, and the way I'm relating this to political prisoners is that I've been around political prisoners who have transformed the lives of criminals. Wow. You understand? Right. People from the lumpen proletariat. You understand? If you study, different levels of society, the lumpen proletariat is those. They get into the crime, preying on the masses. This is the bandits. In a class society. The lumpen proletariat. So I've been around Muslims in that environment, you understand, thick with a lumpen proletariat, you understand, wow. Ideas, and I've seen lives being transformed, yes. So that's why I'm saying that this type of spirit needs to be out here free. Another brother, Sheikh Noah Abdul Qayyum, who some of the people might know as Sheikh Noah Washington. I attended his class. He had a class on spirituality, focus on doing good, perfecting the self, being pleasing to Allah, being Allah conscious, straightforward, upright, you understand, being strong. This is what this brother taught in his class, Sheikh Noah Abdul Qayyum, who has returned to Allah, has made his transition, in the words of some of our brothers and sisters, who's made his transition. But I'm mentioning him in this discussion of Ramadan, of spirituality. His class is on Ruhani, the study of the soul, of the spirit, the purification of the soul, and repeat, the reason I'm saying this is to for the impact that it will make on the consciousness of the masses to understand that our political prisoners must be free. That this is a wealth of humanity that's on lockdown, been stolen from us, and must be free. Maliki Shakur is another brother. Now here's a brother, I took his classes too. He was a teacher. He also, behind closed doors, taught us kung fu. And this is a brother in self-defense was victorious over 15 pigs that jumped on him. You know what I'm saying? And he had a class on spirituality too. And a book in his class was the ideology of the future, and that's one of the we have two types of education. One type of education you have in college, and another type of education is education that you have independently. So we have independent Muslim classes in the penitentiary, and incidentally, Tupac wanted to come and get in our classes. He sent a message to Sheikh Noah that he wanted to come, and get in our class, but they put him in involuntary PC. Involuntary PC is not somebody signing in, but the state, you understand, decides to put you in protective custody. They wasn't putting Tupac in protective custody to protect him. They were putting him in Tupac in protective custody to protect them from him. There wasn't nothing gonna happen to that brother, especially around us. And he wanted to come to our classes, But I was just mentioning the book, The Ideology of the Future, that I studied under uh, Maliki Shakur, and what this book focuses on is monotheism. Gives a very great detailed explanation of monotheism and explains that Allah, you understand, in terms of being the most beautiful, the most ideal existence anywhere in the universe. You understand? The highest, the most worthy of praise, the most worthy of love. This is shown up straight up monotheism. And people can get into seeing other things as the highest ideal, as a real ideal. You understand? But Allah, you understand, according to monotheism, is the real ideal, and the book gives an explanation of how taking other things as the real ideal, as a God, you understand, causes pain, misery, and destruction of lives. For example, taking one's flesh as a god, taking sex as a god, taking money as a god. You understand? And not just putting it in its correct context that God is up here and these other things, are subordinates, but these are things become the highest ideal. You understand? And in this, history shows there has been great destruction, pain, and misery in human life. So that's what that book taught, And like I said, Maliki Shakur was the teacher of that class.
And where this was at? Malik Shakur.
We in Clinton.
Oh, Clinton. I wanted to take a second to talk about this book that was given to me, right? It's called Prison Lives Matter, and it relates to what we're talking about when we talk about political prisoners. Because as a Muslim, right, when you studying Ramadan, right, you're fasting, you're cleansing yourself, you're focusing on discipline, and in this focus on discipline, you're focusing on raising your consciousness. And raising your consciousness means that you have to sharpen your understanding about what you're making a commitment to, what you are dedicating your life to, right? And your life is to change the current circumstances of things, right? If there's a wrong, you got to make it right. And in that struggle to make something right that is wrong, we have to be clear on what we're doing, right? We have to be clear on what we're fighting for. Because in a number of episodes, we talked about the political prisoner not being a terrorist. And the correctional facility is supposed to be a correctional facility, therefore, it's supposed to be a correction process taking place. And if that correction process takes place, there should be a time and date for release, right? So you don't say 20 years, 30 years, or 40 years, and you're still trying to correct the person. But my point is that when we talk about political prisoners, let's have an understanding of what that means. For some, it's the first time hearing a political prisoner. They only hear prisoner, right? When we are on the street of Queensbridge or anywhere else, you hear somebody say, "Oh yeah, I have somebody in my family who's in prison," and they immediately want to start talking about that particular person being in prison. And we're saying that, okay, yes, our heart goes out to anybody who's incarcerated. But with the political prisoner, we have to make a distinction from a prisoner, right? And that's why I wanted to take the time out to talk about this. It's on page 42. It said, political prisoners are those arrested, framed, and otherwise imprisoned because of relatively peaceful political activity against the oppressive conditions of the people. Political prisoners are also captured colonials inside the walls who have adopted a revolutionary mentality and become politically active. But I want to stay on the first part, right? Where it said political prisoners are those arrested, framed, and otherwise imprisoned because of relatively peaceful political activity against the oppressive conditions of the people. Right? So once these people, common people like me and you, start to understand that there's oppression existing, then we make a decision about what's going to be our relationship to that oppression. Do people that we see and love are mistreated? Do we accept that mistreatment, or we decide to do something about that? See, the political prisoner was no different than me and you, and the political prisoner didn't have no cape, didn't have no superpower. The political prisoner was just conscious, was going about everyday life, just like Kamal Siddiqui, just like others who were just involved with the community, organizing the community to move the community forward. And they said that there's a situation that exists, and they're going to do something about it. And that's why they got incarcerated, because they were a threat to the state, and the state decided that they're gonna fight. They're gonna respond, right? They're gonna do something. You're fighting me, I'm gonna fight you, and this is the conditions of us fighting. Right, I have more power than you, and you're struggling to have what I have. And right now, you're not going to get it, because I'm going to do any and every underhanded thing that I'm going to do to put you where I want you kept. And that's how the political prisoner is currently incarcerated, because you have programs like the COINTELPRO that causes political prisoners to be incarcerated. And there's a campaign right now that is making sure that all the information, all the documentation that the COINTELPRO has is released to the people. We are tax-paying citizens. We want to know any and everything that the government has on people who are just like me and you, fighting to move forward. So I needed to add that, because I think that when we talk about political prisoners, people have to understand that. And in the month of Ramadan, make a commitment to understanding what it really means. Make a conscious decision to get an understanding of what political prisoners mean. Because once you do that, then you're going to understand what side you need to be standing on. Mm-hmm. So I just needed to add that. I needed to get that off my chest.
Right on, brother. That's right on.
That's
right on.
That's what we have to do, man. We have to struggle for what's right, man.
That's right on. Politics is all about power. People having the power to make decisions and to see those decisions being successfully carried out. And in terms of the oppressor, a criminal manifestation of this power is when they use rape, robbery, murder, intimidation, genocide, infanticide, baby killing, and every low-down criminal, cruel, sadistic, torturous method, to exploit the people and to become extremely wealthy. You dig? So the political prisoner is the one who has opposed this. There are those who submit to it. There are those who bow down to the oppressor. There are those who grovel in the dust and crawl on their feet like a dog and lick the boots of the oppressor, who fear the oppressor. I call it sissified politics. You understand? Uncle Toms, Black Sambos, snitches, collaborators, who work with the enemy against the interests of the people, and then there are those who just don't care, who say, well, that's the way it is. Ain't nothing we can do about it. This is the fear, the terrorism, in the hearts. And in some of those folks, white supremacy is in their hearts, in their blood, and in their veins. You understand? Thick as water, thicker, thicker than blood. You dig what I'm saying? And the political prisoner is the one who overcomes that, and also relating this to fasting. So you will have self-restraint. Relating this to Ramadan. Giving you the power not to become weak. You dig? Not to become a hungry dog that they can give a little morsel to and pat on the head. You understand? And every pat on the head from your slave master destroys 1 trillion brain cells, patting you on the head like you a dog. You understand? And no, we rise above this. We rise to the higher level. Like Imam Jamil talked about, the height of our humanity. You understand? Which resists oppression, which stands up against injustice. Which stands up for truth. And fasting is part of this program because it gives us the inner strength, the discipline, the will, you understand, the mastery over ourselves, not to bend, not to break, not to weaken, not to idolize the little piece of candy that slave master gives you. You understand? But to be real, to deal with what is real, what the real values are. You understand? The pain, the misery, the suffering of hundreds of millions of people, through the hands of this oppressor. You understand? And we must stand up, and we must value those who have stood up for us. We must love those who stood up for us and be conscious and be educated, you understand, on the whole global scenario, the systemic scenario, how this system works. A system that has robbed every African nation. More than $60 billion ripped from Africa every year. You understand? I mean, we got to feel this. You understand? Yes. But if we're a slithering, crawling worm, we ain't gonna feel it. If we're a real human being, we're gonna feel it. You understand? So Ramadan fasting, God consciousness. You understand? Allah created the human being and created perfection in the human being, and the perfection in our human selves, you understand, is this a higher level of the humanity, the uprightness, the fight for what is right, being good, being virtuous, these type of things, this is what is going to bring us success in this life and in the hereafter.
Yes, well said, to the point. I think that all our topics were straight and to the point. I think that we gave people, in particular, people of the Islamic faith, an idea that they need to grasp and really reflect on during the month of Ramadan. And we ask that those who are viewing this, share this with 10 people. Donate $5, donate 50 cents, donate $1. And and we're gonna let you know where that money is going to, because we're gonna do what we need to do. We're gonna make people more aware. Put out some posters in the community. I know we have a couple in South Jamaica, Queens. We have the open letter in Queensbridge, and I just want to salute the community of Queensbridge for respecting the banner that we have in Queensbridge. That's an open letter from Sundiata Akoli. He's very appreciative of the work that's being done to aid his release. We know that we still got more work to do, and not only on just his behalf, on the behalf of all political prisoners. That's why we make our commitment weekly at noon, 12 o'clock. That is Eastern Standard Time. So wherever you're at, make sure that you tune in. Make sure you share, even if you got a few seconds to just check it out and just to make time for political prisoners, because they doing time for you. So as we always do, we're going to close it out with a word from our brother, our comrade in the struggle to move people
and
forward.
And real quick, very quickly, very quickly. Remember out there, folks who are fast, remember, Ramadan makes Muslims strong. You understand? And I don't care what hillbilly don't like it. You understand? Fight those evil, those urges. You understand? That can take you off the path. You understand? I don't care what hillbilly don't like it. Enter jihad. Engage in the great jihad in your heart. You understand? And Ramadan makes Muslims strong.
To this idea, Miss Kathy Hughes of Radio 1. She's like, Michael, it is time that you guys organize a fund to set aside to help people who sacrifice for our freedom. Meaning, every time something happens, I hear this. Why don't the gang bangers jump up and do something for us? Why don't you kill them? You kill each other. And I say to myself, when is the last time you sent money to Assata Shakur? When is the last time you sent money to Matulu Shakur? When is the last time you sent money to Mumia Abu Jamal? or Larry Hoover or Jeff Ford or Leonard Peltier? When is the last time you have made it your business to send money to a revolutionary or a hoodlum that has helped us? And until we start to do that, how can we ask these young men to be warriors? Because if they do it in the name of the hood, at least the hood gonna honor their name always. At least the hood gonna make sure at least their children got something or their mama's house is looked after. As a community, if we're going to ask people to bungee jump for us with no cord, be prepared to take care of them when they get a life sentence. Be prepared to look after their families. See, I don't mind the work getting done, but let's take care of the workers. Let's stop asking more out of people than we would do for ourselves. So what I'd like to see, my dream thing, is to see 1 million people from the culture dedicate $10 a month. That's $10 million a month, $120 million a year toward taking care of civil rights leaders who have worked on our behalf and are elderly now and don't have to take care of themselves, like Rosa Parks, whose rent was paid by the owner of Little Caesars Pizza. We should have had a fund to make sure that she never had to worry about that again in her life. We should have a fund that makes sure money makes it to Assata Shakur, and Matulu Shakur has legal representation and food, and Leonard Peltier, who has diabetes in jail, can get insulin and taken care of. And until we start doing it, $10 a month is about what you pay on a couple fast food restaurant visits. So if 1 million of us do that for the rest of our life, look at how well we'll be taking care of the people that we're asking to sacrifice on our behalf.
I agree. And recently,
What's the call?
Free 'em all.
What's the call?
Free 'em all.